King Shashank of God. According to Xuanzang, King Shashank had cut down the Bodhi tree that was revived by King Puranvarman of Magad. Alexander Cunningham has suggested that after the death of Kings Harshvardhan and Shashank, that is during the latter half of the 7th century, when King Aditya Sen and his successors controlled this region of Bihar, the Mahabodhi tree remained unharmed. This, according to Cunningham, is proven by the fact that during their time, the Mahabodhi was repeatedly visited by Chinese pilgrims, all of whom mention the Mahabodhi tree as still standing. To quote him, if it escaped during the following centuries, 700 to 800 AD, the tree planted by Puran Varma may have lasted down to the time of the Buddhist dynasty of Pala kings, which began to reign about 813 AD. Unquote. Replantation from Anuradhapur after expiry. Some modern scholars have suggested, on the basis of information available in the Sri Lankan chronicles, that whenever the Mahabodhi tree of Bodh Gaya expired, cuttings from the Bodhi tree at Anuradhapur were used to replant it. But none of these major chronicles of Sri Lanka, that is the Deepvansh, the Mahavansh and the Chulvansh, give any such information. However, Hamilton Buchanan in his report mentions the locals around the Mahabodhi tree having told him that the worshippers of Gautam say that it was planted by Dugdh Kamin, king of Singaldeep, that is Ceylon, 2225 years before AD 811, that is, according to them, 125 years before the building of the temple. Storm. When Hamilton Buchanan visited the Mahabodhi temple in the year 1811, he found the tree to be in full vigor, but in all probability not exceeding 100 years of age. Rajendralal Mitra found the Mahabodhi tree as decayed and dying in 1863. A few months earlier, when Cunningham saw it in December 1862, he too found it very much decayed. One large stem with 3 branches to the westward, according to Cunningham, being still green, whereas the other branches being barkless and rotten. He actually found not one but numerous stems of apparently different trees clustered together, the green branches belonging to one of the youngest ones. He further says, to quote him, "The tree must have been renewed frequently, as the present people is standing on a terrace at least 30 feet above the level of the surrounding country." Unquote. Cunningham next saw the tree in 1871 and again in 1875. It had by now completely decayed, and shortly afterwards in 1876, the only remaining portion of the tree fell over the west wall during a storm, and the old people tree was gone. Unquote. To quote him again, many seeds, however, had been collected, and young scion of the parent tree were already in existence to take its place. Unquote. Consequently, the tree was later replaced by Cunningham by a seedling of its parent tree, which was about 3 feet tall. The present Mahabodhi tree has grown out of the sampling and is expected to live up to the age of about 200 years, that is still about 2075 or so. Whenever the Mahabodhi tree came to any harm, man-made or otherwise, and a new sapling had to be planted, it must have been planted exactly at its original spot, keeping the Vajra Asan as the reference spot. However, Cunningham planted the Mahabodhi tree a few feet away from its original place as a more convenient spot for it to grow without the risk of damaging the restored temple. In the year 2007, a team of specialists sent by the Forest Institute of Dehradun discovered that the high intensity electric lights installed just underneath the tree to guide visitors who came here after sunset was causing serious damage to the tree. The expert team further pointed out that besides being affected by the lack of darkness, Mahabodhi tree's daily process of photosynthesis was compromised greatly by a coating of carbon on the underside of the tree's leaves, the result of candle burning by the devotees. On the basis of the report, the Temple Management Committee has implemented a number of precautions over the years to nurse the tree back to health. For this purpose, candle and incense burning have been stopped from the tree's immediate proximity, and the night lights have been replaced by less damaging ones. Despite these precautions, apprehensions have been expressed that the tree may not survive for long, or at least that there is a very real danger of the Mahabodhi tree being not in good health. Massive footfall, soil compaction, and resultant blockade in the flow of nutrients appears to have added to the problems. One of the members of the Forest Research Institute Dehradun's team is said to have pointed out in an interview to the magazine called Tricycle that as a backup, an offspring of the Mahabodhi tree was planted in the year 2010 that can take over should the need arise. The member is said to have further pointed out that as long as the caretaking endeavors continue, Buddhism's most sacred tree should stay alive for at least another 50 years. Some sources have indicated that the Forest Research Institute has done a complete DNA profiling of the sacred tree to produce a clone in case the aging tree were to meet natural destiny. Thank you so much.